Welcome to another exciting episode of the $1 Million Peddlers. I'm Papergoy.
And I'm Mr. Magazine.
Mr. Magazine, you have noticed there's a little bit of a change around the Papergoy Palace as far as a few things getting moved around, listed, and all that. Yeah. You can actually walk a little bit at this point.
Actually sit down on a sofa for a change.
There you go. Yeah. And just before we came on, I showed you a lot of comic books that I had, just in general, a bunch of boxes.
Yep.
How many comic books would you estimate that I had back there?
Oh, let's see. 20 boxes, 200 a box, 4,000.
Okay, is there 200 boxes? Because there's some longs in there as well.
Oh, I didn't see the longs. So, yeah.
So probably 6,000 to 8,000 items, let's say?
Sure.
6,000 to 8,000 things.
Yep.
Now, you are on record as being one of the biggest proponents of Whatnot.
Okay. This episode is Bizarro episode, yes.
So we'll say, we'll just make the math real easy and say I've got 10,000 comics there.
Okay.
Now, you know I tend to sell comics in lots of 3 to 5. We'll just say 5.
Okay.
That's 2,000 lots that I can make.
Yeah.
Now, do not try that math at home. I'm an expert. I've been selling on Whatnot since June. Now, I do ephemera, I do books, I do trade cards, I do comics. I do a lot of different things on there. But I've sold just over, I'm going to say 1,100 lots on there. 1,100 items / lots on there.
Okay.
That's from June till the end of the year, and I took some weeks off here and there, whatever.
You probably made a lot of money those weeks you took off.
So you're talking about roughly 2,000 items I would sell in a year.
Sounds right.
How many lots did we figure that we had out of those comic boxes back there? About 2,000 to 10,000 comics.
Yep.
So I could go through that all in 1 year, those right over there.
Yep.
Now, what do I need to do after I start getting through 5, 6 of those boxes? I got to start looking around for a replacement.
You need to restock little by little. Especially
on a place like Whatnot. And the reason why is because Whatnot is such a niche type place. I want to be selling books at some point, but as opposed to eBay, which is this grand marketplace, you kind of put everything up, and somebody stumbles across a book that I have up at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, they can't really buy the things from me on Whatnot unless I have the auction going.
Right.
But what are the likelihood that somebody that buys ephemera is necessarily going to want to buy comics, or going to want to buy books, or going to want to buy Hot Wheels if I get into that, or going to want to buy any of these other niches? Right. It tends to be a very niche-oriented thing. Mm-hmm. You know, if all of a sudden I start selling clothing, if I were on eBay, I could still make clothing sales.
Right.
Whereas on Whatnot, I'm not known for clothing. Mm-hmm. None of my ephemera people are going to come to my clothing sale because they're not interested in clothing.
Right, yeah.
So I've got to start over from the bottom.
Right.
So once you find a niche on there...
Who's this clothing guy?
Exactly. That would be a stupid name.
Crazy.
But once you find yourself a niche on Whatnot, the positive is you keep getting customers going, and you can make sales after sales after sales in it.
Yeah.
The downside is you definitely feel a lot more pressure, I think, in order to continue to replenish your inventory.
Yeah.
Because you kind of are almost stuck in that niche without saying that is a bad thing.
Right.
You know, if I'm known for selling a lot of stamps on there, I mean, maybe I can move into things like postcards because there might be some overlapping collectors, but I can't suddenly be selling paintings on there because nobody knows me for paintings.
Right.
So do you have any advice out there in regards to that or thoughts about that, I guess?
Yeah, you got 2 options. You got to, buy a huge collection somehow. Find your niche and you have a stockpile. Obviously, if you're doing Whatnot and you started in June, or anyone else started in June or January, well, you may have a big inventory from dealing for the last 10 years, so you're good for 5 or 10 years no matter what. If you're a newbie and you just started this niche, I like action figures, or I love comic books, and you're going to list those and start buying those. Well, you better keep buying them or find a big collection, or else you're going to run out of them at some point.
That's actually a really good point, that those comics that I've got back there, I don't know if you remember or not, you sold me a bunch of comics in, I think, 2018 or 2017, something like that. So a lot of those comics I've had sitting around for 4 years. I remember a lot of those I picked up in 2020. So you are talking about those, whatever, 6,000, 10,000, how many ever comics there are sitting there.
Yeah.
Those are an accumulation for the last, I don't know, 6, 7 years.
Right. Yeah.
Which, yes, I've listed stuff on Amazon that I've picked up along the way. I'm sure I got some other comics sitting somewhere I could sell. But still, you're looking at it with me not really trying that hard. I'm picking up a few thousand comics a year is kind of what it averages out to.
Right.
That being said, let's say that I pick up 3,000 comics a year and lot them out as 5. That's only 600 lots.
Yeah. Right.
And if I'm selling 20 comic lots at an auction, that's only 30 auctions.
Yeah.
And if I do comics twice a week, that's 15 weeks.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm scrambling around trying to find more.
Yeah.
So I think that out of any of the venues, I think that Whatnot burns through inventory. And I don't mean this good or bad. It's not a judgment call. I just think that it probably requires the most inventory out of any site out there. Because, again, there is no long tail on Whatnot.
Well, you're forced to sell your niche. Where if I sell magazines, comics, toys, action
If somebody
figures,
walks in with an accordion, you can buy it.
right.
I can't go on Whatnot and go, hey, tonight in the middle of my comic auction, I'm going to sell an accordion.
I'd like to see you try. Hey, you might get more than you would for a trade card. You might get a few bucks, $4, $5, $6.
Only if I play it and then I stop playing it when they win it.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, so it is an interesting site. And I know, again, you're not a huge fan of the site, but I think you can see the positives of it for moving inventory. But then the problem comes in. You have to sit there and you got to look at what you're selling the items for. And say the comics are going for 60 cents a piece. So you're selling a lot of 5 for $3, let's just say. Yeah. You got to figure out, you got to be running your numbers. You got to be real good with your numbers. And you got to be saying, okay, I can pay 15 cents a piece on these and be able to be making a little bit of money. But because you can flow through the inventory so quickly, that is the upside of it.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts on it?
Expand your niche. I think that's the easiest way to do it because you can go to the flea markets. How many months out of the year? 6, 7, 8, 9 months out of the year, and you may not find comics if that's your niche. So look for something else, even as a backup, that you have some knowledge and you enjoy selling.
Yeah. It'd be good to do a couple of niches and maybe do comics one day and then the other niche the other day, or do
something that ties into it. So action figures and comics might be a good tie-in. Maybe die cast, because then you can do Hot Wheels, and then you can do large scale cars or something like that. Or loose. You can do buy loose. You can do carded. So.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps you some on there. I know a lot of people do Whatnot out there, and if you haven't checked it out, definitely do. It is. I don't know. I enjoy it, and I think it's a fun place to.
It's got to be for you. You got to like it.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Yeah. So hopefully that helps you, and do hit the like button, and we will see you next video.
Take care. Bye-bye.